Um, let's take a look at the exam structure of PMP now. The PMP exam, it would comprise of 180 questions, 180 questions. Again, the questions are objective. All questions are objective. And the duration of the exam, quite exhaustive exam, 230 minutes. So that's like 10 minutes short of 4 hours. Okay. Lengthier than the PRINCE2 practitioner as well. And yeah, and the questions here would be again situational questions. So in PMP exam, there's no project scenario as such as we have in case of PRINCE2, but every question would be situational one. So the questions would be like 2, 3, 4 lines each, not more than that. But in that 2, 3, 4 lines, the question would describe some kind of a situation. And the questions would be around what would you do? Look, the question is the exam is not the make what do you know? That's not asked. So what the questions would ask is, what would you do in a given situation, right? So that's what is checked in the PMP exam. And the entry requirement, there is an eligibility criteria for the PMP certification. Let's take a look at that. So there are two entry criteria, in fact. One is 35 contact hours of formal project management education. So this to mean a person has to undergo a training. There are a lot of training providers available out there in the market who can help you with this PMP training, wherein they prepare candidates to take up the PMP exam, and that those attending are awarded with this 35 contact hours certificate, which is one of the prerequisites. Now, the only other one is project management experience. So point to be noted, unlike PRINCE2, in case of PMP, there is this entry barrier. So a person must already be having 3 years of project management experience. So if you do not already have project management experience, then you cannot apply for PMP certification. Let's better understand what's that project management experience. Look, this experience doesn't necessarily mean that a person has to be a designated project manager. You know, the designation could vary. Even the role need not be project manager alone. One could have that experience in a role other than project manager also. Like, for example, I'm a consultant, a scrum master, okay, a project lead, project coordinator. Even these roles come with project management experience. So what would qualify as project management experience is one must be able to showcase that it manages projects end to end. That means you led a project right from beginning through closure. That is, you initiated a project, thereafter you planned it, you executed or implemented the project, you monitored it all along, right? And finally, close the project as well. So if you led a project end to end across, that qualifies as project management experience. And how much of such experience we need? 36 months or 3 years, all right? 3 years of project management experience. And this experience could be on a single project. You worked one project that lasted 4 years, let's say. That's just showcasing one project would do. While for somebody else, it could be you worked on small projects, several of them. That's equally acceptable. Just that you have to document 4, 5, 6 of them to make it 36 months. Either is welcome. And this experience has to be documented in an application form. So when you go for PMP certification, you got to fill a PMP application form wherein you showcase your experience, this experience, and this form would be reviewed by PMI and approved. Only when someone's application is approved can the person proceed with the next steps of writing the exam. All right. And one last thing worth mentioning here. This 36 months works for those who hold any bachelor's degree, any bachelor's. But let's say somebody doesn't have a bachelor's degree, let's say a diploma holder, a high school, intermediate. Even then, one can go for the PMP certification, but the experience requirement increases to 60 months. So it would be either 60 months or 5 years. So we need 3 years or 5 years, depending on your educational qualifications. So that's some entry barrier that has been introduced in PMP certification. And if you would like to know a bit more about the PMP exam, the questions are distributed to these three domains. These are the domains in the exam: people, process, and business environment. So there is a breakup of questions. So the business environment would make up for 8% of the questions, just 8%. Business environment talks about the environment in which projects operate, basic stuff. What is project? What's project management? What are other related endeavors? What are the various development life cycles that exist, organization structures, basic stuff. And process, the PMBOK process structure, that contributes to maximum number of questions, that 50% questions are on the process domain. And people would comprise 42% of the questions in the exam. So that's the blueprint for the PMP certification, right? So that's a little bit on the PMP exam structure. Let's take a look at the pass rate. You should know when you are targeting one of these certifications. Hey, that's the global stats that team has got. PRINCE2 Foundation, 70% people clear it in the first attempt. As you know, in PRINCE2, we have two levels, while for practitioner is 65% people clear it in the first attempt. And for PMP certification here, 55% people make it in the first attempt. So that's some pass rate, right? That's global, but I must say something here out of my experience. I myself trained about 24,000 project management professionals this far. Out of that, I have trained a lot of PMP. I'm an approved trainer both for PRINCE2 and PMP. I've trained 10,000 people for PMP alone. And PRINCE2, I would have trained 5,000 plus people for PRINCE2. And in my experience, let me tell you what success I have seen for foundation. Honestly, 100%. Anybody who sat through my PRINCE2 foundation training never failed, because foundation is so very easy. It just checks basic concepts. So if you're attentive in the class, in the training, you pass the exam. Yes, I mean it. Nobody failed foundation exam ever, right? And for practitioner, yeah, I won't say that's 100%. So 90% is the success rate that I've seen, those who attended my trainings, I can say. And for PMP also, I'll add, PMP is close, 85% people, those who undertook my training, I've seen this kind of success rate. Okay, so when you choose your certification, you may keep that in mind as well, right? Study difficulty, yeah, that's another thing we should understand. One of the reasons why people opt for PRINCE2 certification, apart from other reasons, one of the reasons being the effort that's needed to earn it. There's a huge difference when it comes to the effort. Look, I won't say PRINCE2 is easy exam and PMP is difficult. No, I won't say that. But there is a huge difference when it comes to the, the effort needed to pass the exam. And there's a reason for that. Let's take a look at this one. So the reason being, okay, a clear syllabus. Look, this is one major difference. So when it comes to PRINCE2, be it foundation or practitioner, both the levels, there is clear syllabus defined, which is the PRINCE2 manual, the official PRINCE2 manual. So you don't have to read anything other than the official PRINCE2 manual to pass the exam, all right? All questions would be directly from PRINCE2 manual, right? But if you look at PMP now, we talk about PMP. Look, PMP exam is not solely based on PMBOK. I told you PMBOK is a primary reference for PMP exam, but very clearly, so those who framed the exam questions, they had no mandate to stick to PMBOK. Yes, so PMP exam goes outside of PMBOK also. So in fact, PMP exam is based on something called a PMP exam content outline. Abbreviated as ECO, exam content outline. You simply understand exam content outline as the exam syllabus. So it lists down all topics that's examinable. And do note, this exam content outline goes beyond PMBOK, all right? So that's why broad knowledge base, there's a lot more to learn. In fact, if you were to go by PMI's recommendation, you would check on their site. They have listed some 11 books, you see, which can be used to prepare for PMP exam. Hey, that's a lot to be studied, right? Unlike PRINCE2, where we very clear, there's one PRINCE2 manual and every question is based out of this manual. And even PMBOK is large, you see, is quite heavy. So there's a lot of knowledge out there, okay? That's one difference. And we also know experience requirement also acts as a barrier for PMP. Those, say you are an aspiring project manager, you do not already have the 36 months of project management experience, then you won't be able to make it to the PMP certification. So that's what a lot of people ask me that. So what I recommend people, aspiring project managers, take up PRINCE2 Foundation as a starting step. Get started, right? And then maybe PMP could be your future journey. And once you earn the experience later, you can think about the PMP certification. Now take a look at the effort required. The effort required, this huge difference, that's what I was telling you. Those undertaking PMP certification, they spend 100 to 100 to 200 hours. This is what I recommend, those who attend my trainings. I ask people to read anything between 100 to 200 hours of study post the training. And yeah, there's a range. It depends on your current level of knowledge. For some people, highly experienced, 100 hours would suffice, but some could need as long as 200 hours as well. But look at PRINCE2, what I say. PRINCE2, just a week's effort. Yes. So there's lately some change in PRINCE2. These days, you take the exam after the training is over, you take your time, you study, you schedule your exam online and take it. But if you go back to pre-COVID-19 times, say around 5-6 years ago, mostly the trainings would be in this format. I would conduct a 5-day training covering both foundation and practitioner, all right? And the candidates learn and they write the exam during the training. Watch out, I said that. So on the last day of the training, candidates would write the exam. So the format is such that it is doable, very much doable. So people attend the training, do a bit of revision, post the training, couple of hours, and you're good to go. Write the exam and pass it. That's how it is. But after this change, when you don't necessarily have to take it during the training itself, okay? So you can spend, so what I recommend those who attend my PRINCE2 training, I suggest that you should write the exam in 2 to 3 days after training completion. Yeah, I meant that, 2 to 3 days, at most 1 week. Do not delay that beyond a week. Why? You would forget the concepts. So anybody in my training, I assure you would understand the concepts. All right. You should be almost ready right at the end of the training. But still, if you'd like to spend 2-3 days in a bit of revision and some mock exams maybe, that's no bad idea. So within a week. So you see here, this is a huge difference when it comes to the effort that is involved. But I again would restate that doesn't mean PRINCE2's exam is easy and PMP is difficult. Both are equally difficult in their own accord. Right? So practical exam considerations, certain other things, take a look at the cost difference. So if you go for PRINCE2 Foundation alone, it would cost you in the range of 600 to 1,000 GBP, all right, including training. So that's the training cost, the material cost, the exam cost, everything put together. While for PMP, there's a difference in rate for members and non-members. So, but there's a cost of membership also, $139 one has to pay. So the exam itself would cost you $555 US. And then there is a training cost. So there are two parts. One is the exam fee. You can pay this directly to PMI. And the training would cost somewhere around 1,000 to 2,500 GBP in the UK, right? So there's the kind of difference you see in the exam and training. Experience requirements, we spoke about it. So as I said earlier, PMP has got a barrier, that 3 years of project management experience, while in PRINCE2, there's no prerequisite. Anybody can take up, PRINCE2 foundation and practitioner levels, although the foundation is a prerequisite for practitioner and no prerequisite for foundation. That's the reason aspiring project managers who do not have the 3 years of experience in leading projects, PRINCE2 could be a good choice. Renewal requirements, well, both have their renewal requirements. In case of PMP, the renewal, there are two requirements. One is to collect 60 PDUs. PDU stands for Professional Development Unit. So it's like this. 1 hour of learning would be equivalent to 1 professional development unit. Well, there are many ways to earn the 60 professional development unit. A few examples would be attending formal training programs is one way, right? Giving a presentation, you could earn PDUs. You yourself impart training internally to your team, that could give you PDUs. You attend a webinar, you go for a self-reading. There are many, many ways. Okay, so a person has to gain 60 PDUs, and 2, you got to pay a renewal fee. The renewal fee would be $150. So this is what it takes to renew PMP certification. And the renewal cycle is 3 years. 3 years. Every 3 years, one has to renew. Same applies for PRINCE2 as well, 3 years. But for PRINCE2, there are multiple options for renewal. Okay, so option number 1 is take the re-registration exam, rewrite the exam. The re-registration exam would be similar format of practitioner, a scaled down version of that, not at 2.5 hours, but just 1 hour exam. So re-registration exam is one way to do that. You have more options here, see, number 1. Number 2 would be similar. You collect 20 CPD points every year. So CPD, continuous professional development, again, similar stuff. You have to buy PeopleCert membership. You got to be a member. You can easily earn the CPD points. If you earn 20 each year for 3-year period, then it can be successfully renewed. And a third one, add another certification. Another certification from the same family. So when I say family, PPM, project program, this PPM portfolio, PeopleCert, to which, so other certifications are a program management certification, MSP, managing a portfolio, P3O, that is portfolio program, project management offices. If you add another certification, then automatically your certificate is, the earlier certificate is renewed for 3 more years. So you have multiple paths for PRINCE2 renewal. For PMP, there's one criteria,